Taikan Bay. Nestled deep in the Kenepuru Sounds, Taikan Bay is 14 nautical miles from the Havelock Marina, which is about 2 hours travelling 7 or 8 knots. Again, one of our favourite spots. Reason being the long sunset views at night time. Gets good sun in the afternoon, and the beach over there is incredible. You've also got great access to the road, to the Queen Charlotte track, and Portage just around the corner. It's quite lively, there's quite a few houses here. It does feel like a party sometimes in the summer, but that's quite good. One of the great things about Taikan Bay, that little archway. Secret portal to a whole other bay.
And this is the famous The Gap, which leads you right through to another part of the Kenepuru Arm.
The meaning of to portage is to carry a boat, canoe or supplies overland between waterways. So this makes the Gap a useful shortcut to avoid having to navigate right around Kaiaho Point.
So the beach is made up of pebbles, shells, little stones, bits of crystal.
And that's why anchoring is not so good.
But down a little bit further, at low tide, there's sand. But there are also lots of mussel and oyster shells too. So follow me, and this is the start of the track up to the road.
The walk to the Portage Resort is 1.4 kilometres long, so it takes around 20 minutes along the coastal road. In the summer months, the restaurant is open for breakfast, lunch and dinner.
And up onto the street, the Kenepuru Road.
The Portage is located at the Kenepuru side of the Toria Saddle, a mountain pass connecting the Queen Charlotte with the Kenepuru Sounds.
And here is our boat. So anchoring or mooring here gives you access to this road that leads to the Portage and the Queen Charlotte track.
In the 19th century, Robert Blamires regularly carried his boat over the saddle and named the Portage after this route. Portage Bay can feel quite busy with resort visitors and batches, so staying just around the corner in Taikan Bay offers a bit more privacy, not to mention that big open view down the length of the sound.
Anchoring and mooring, super important information. Here you've got two options of Pelorus Boat Club moorings, the southern one, and there's one over there that you can see a little boat on, which gives some great protection from the northerly winds. Here is more protected from the south. It seems to be reasonably protected in most winds. However, that sort of westerly can get nasty. And what also tends to happen is the wind swirls in here quite viciously. So if it's 20-30 knots coming from the northwest, what tends to happen is it swirls and chops through the gap and then comes in here and swirls around. So it actually accelerates. You get a little bit of katabatic winds, a little bit of Venturi effect where it sort of just comes in from all these different angles, and it can get quite ferocious. That's why we choose to use the club moorings most of the time. However, we have anchored here before, albeit very briefly, and the holdings seem to be okay. It seemed to be quite adequate, and there's a big caveat on that. We have noticed whilst we've been here that there's been several sailboats that have come in and anchored, and they've only stayed for a couple of hours and then they've shifted off, especially in heavy winds. Not sure why that's happened, whether or not they've felt unsafe on anchor or they've dragged anchor a little bit. So yeah, use with caution. Around the corner at Portage is notoriously bad for anchoring, so perhaps the seafloor and the mud consistency here is the same as around the corner at Anchorage and is not recommended for anchoring at all. That being said, if you're going to use the moorings, be aware that they are very close to the shore, both of them, and the wind does whip up and get quite intense in this bay. We've had a couple of near misses here. We've felt very unsafe on the mooring, so use this bay with caution. On another note, the cell phone coverage. It's fantastic here, so if you're running your boat off a cell phone, you're not going to have any problems. Head to the Bay Stays section of our website, where we're sharing a comprehensive guide to cruising the Marlborough Sounds.